Boys and girls, ladies and germs, welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast. Today on the podcast, I welcome Mark Holding. Mark is a retired CID police from Cumbria and Northwest and served for 30 years in the police. He is a chief karate instructor and regional England karate coach with the North of England. He manages national karate squad training and has 30 years, as I've already said, experience in the police where he's been on the front line, kicking ass and taking names. Mark is a fantastic example of somebody in our emergency services who has got an incredible wealth of knowledge and skill set in self-defense, personal awareness, but has that real game-changing aspect of the mental and physical ability to know what he's capable of and know where it's appropriate to use it. Thank you so much for coming back to the Firefighters Podcast today. I always love getting across different emergency services and interacting with different members of our community and our frontline staff. I know you're going to enjoy this one, Mark. It's always great when we get a martial artist on because I feel like they've got just such a different level of thinking. You know, they're on a whole different plane of awareness. Once again, we are sponsored by the wonderful William Wood Watches. William Wood Watches is a UK-based brand that makes incredible fire service watches. These are made from 100% recycled fire service equipment, once forgotten, now reborn. Each one of their watches contains a piece of history. William Wood was the name of the owner's late grandfather, and he served in the British Fire Service for over 25 years, winning commendations for his acts of bravery. The William Wood logo represents the side profile of the 1920s British firefighter helmet in dedication to his grandfather and the years of courage he showed in the service. So whether it's melting down the original 1920s British brass firefighter's helmet and placing it on the back of the Chivalrous collection, or using the blue upcycled fire hose from his grandfather's hometown region of Tyne and Wear in the Valiant collection straps, you can be sure that every single William Wood watch has history beaten through every component of it. Head over to williamwoodwatches.com and check out their beautiful collection right now. Really hope you enjoy this one, guys, and I will see you on the other side. Mark Holding, welcome to the Firefighters Podcast. How you doing, brother?
Well, Peter, I'm absolutely spot on, mate.
Fantastic. I wanted to invite you onto the podcast. Now, a big part of what we do is all about the whole emergency services and folding in how fitness plays such a role in what we do. And you've done 30-something years in the police force. Is that right?
Yeah, 30 years police service with Cumbria. Been retired 8 years now. Coming up 8 years in January.
8 years. And what's so unique about you, which I'm finding, like, with all due respect to operational personnel in lots of emergency services now, it's becoming rarer that people such as yourself who embrace fitness as part of their life, both when they were operational and now. That's becoming quite a rare thing, because all the way through your career as a police officer, you sort of fell in love with martial arts, and that's become a huge part of your life as well.
I've always had a varied and broad sporting background, even as a child, really. So, I mean, if I sort of describe and explain my sort of makeup, I started off I was a very good athlete, a long jump, triple jumper, and I played basketball to professional level as well. And also, I've always done martial arts alongside anything I've done since I was 8 years old. So I've been doing martial arts off and on for the best part of 48 years. And I think I fell in love. Having done other sports, what I found interesting about martial arts was I fell in love with the discipline and the structure of it.
Yeah.
There was targets to obtain, or there was always something to improve on and learn and develop both physically and mentally. Although you don't realise that as a kid, I think that's what, looking back now, I think that's what engaged me more into the martial arts, and certainly set my mindset up for my adult life, really. Is just the way I was introduced into things and the way it was structured sort of gave me a natural lead into my then profession that I went into.
Do you think that, if you're introduced into it in the wrong way, do you feel like if you don't sort of get a fluid start as an introduction into something like that, it can completely fall on deaf ears? Because, I mean, you've demonstrated there that there's very tangible metrics and sort of goals to hit in terms of gradings and things like that in martial arts, but it's not enormously sexy to start with, because people, I know a friend of mine runs a martial arts gym, and he has people coming in that go, I want to be Ultimate Fighter. You know, I want to be in the octagon. I want to be this. I want to be that. But yeah, you've got to build the iceberg first. Do you know what I mean? And there's so many years of discipline involved. Whereas we're in kind of like an instant gratification culture now. So how was it different when you first started? Because you must have had to do the same. You must have done years of just discipline.
It was hard. It was very strict. You couldn't go for a belt until you were ready. There's no easy fixes. And I think there is martial arts clubs out there that have quick and easy fixes for people. But you've got to find a good club, really. And I think I was lucky, and I found good clubs or trained with good people over the years where nothing came easy. The structure was always there, and I think you've got to have that robustness of instructor behind there to maintain standards to make it viable. You know, a legitimate process. There's no people. I've had people come into my dojo. I mean, I run a full-time one now. I run a full-time club, and I've had them come in wanting quick fixes, and then when they suddenly get into it, they realise, and we'll have a conversation after 2 or 3 years and go, I was very mistaken about this quick fix, because I don't realise how difficult it is.
No.
It's hard. Any martial art, there's no quick fix to any martial art, and I would never decry any other martial art because they are all very hard to do, because the people behind them, and they've developed them over the years, it is a really difficult thing to achieve a high level in. It's not easy. And I think if you look, there's a saying out there somewhere, for every 10,000 people that walk in the door, one will go on to become a sensei.
Really?
And after 6 months, there'll be 5,000. After 1 year, there'll be 500. After 2 years, there'll be 50 left. And it goes on like that. So the dropout rate is quite significant. So it takes a particular sort of individual and a particular instructor sort of to retain people through that process, and you've got to make it both rewarding. It's got to be fun. I mean, I get a lot of kids coming in now, and I've got a lot of kids that sort of like, a couple of them are doing the police cadets, a couple of them are going on to do the policing degree, and they're doing that.
Wow.
And they come in the door, and they've been with me since 5 years old, so they are of a particular mindset now where anything put in front of them, they're used to having to reach these targets.
They've got that growth mindset, and they can apply consistently.
Yeah, just apply themselves to a set task, which is anything. And if you're in the police service, whether it's from everyday policing to the physical and then the physical fitness aspect of it, if they're going in with that background, they won't face anything that they haven't already had thrown at them. That's been harder. They're probably well prepared.
Do you think, though, because a lot of people that are trying to rake people into the fitness industry, and I use the word rake with the greatest of respect, because my personal experience is I've been to, as a finger in the air, maybe 20 or so martial arts style dojos, and the quality and consistency in between is a very, very wide spectrum. I feel as though some places have sacrificed a lot of what is true in my very, 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 very limited knowledge and understanding.
Totally agree.
They've diluted it to such an extent that it's basically just become high intensity interval training in some dojos.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I have a lot of students that perform in a sporting element, as in fight and develop, but my class is traditional karate. So 90% of my students follow a traditional background, and it's karate, and it's technical karate, it's high performance karate, and it's not a fitness class. But I do agree, I'm fortunate that I'm in the English Karate Federation, which is a very good federation. The clubs within there, they are all sort of very, very legitimate and very well organised, and you don't really come across it in ourselves, but I have seen outwith of that, 14-year-old four stands and 15-year-old four stands and things like that. Yeah, technically in my club, or so you'd have to be 25 at the youngest to hold the fourth stand. At least, and that'd be a rarity. I mean, I'm 56 and I'm sixth stand.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come. No, they don't come like. I've got young first stands. Don't get me wrong, because these kids are good. Don't get me wrong, and I do a junior second dan syllabus, but I do agree it does come too easy, and it shouldn't, because I think modern life. I'll give you an example. I go into a lot of schools. I've gone to schools where there's no winning.
Really?
You can't win. You know, I've done a class with kids and say, right, we'll have a race, and they've all ran together and all finished together. And I'm thinking, what's going on here?
That's crazy. What the hell?
Yeah, well, but life's not like that, is it?
No.
That. You know that.
I totally get that.
Job.
I've had that at school as well, where they don't like to keep score with certain things, and I'm just like, I'm not sitting on the sideline bubbling or anything like that, but I'm like, this mindset is we're setting people up for a fail, and people talk about millennials and how they're expecting, and they feel like they're owed something and like they're entitled or something like that. You know what? That's our fault. As parents, me and people, other people my age and perhaps a little bit older, is, we've said that you just turn up and that's fine, and it's all about taking part, and it's not about beating other people. It's not about being the best. You know what? It's not about beating everybody else. I get that. But that's not how life works. And they get to 20, 22, 25 years of age, and they go into real life, real employment, or they try and do a business of their own, or if they have an entrepreneurial, itch or anything like that, and they realize that, you don't get what you want just for showing up. And actually, if you do that, life is not going to reward you, and then they become very disengaged. And I think there's a big aspect in there of people's mental health and why people are struggling so much as they're coming into adulthood. Totally
agree. I mean, and I don't mind saying this live on air, I've suffered from my own mental health issues since about 2000 through just the nature of the work I've done, which has led to anxiety, and I manage it, and it doesn't bother me. I'm quite openly talking about it. Because I'm a former British champion, I'm a 6-dan black belt, I'm a 6'4" bloke, I'm 16 stone in weight.
Wow.
I've always been fit, but I suffer anxiety. So it doesn't matter what build you are, how big you are, and how brave you are.
No.
These things do. But on the side of that, because the nature of my fitness has helped me tremendously to deal with that.
How do you feel that your fitness has helped you, as in like giving you an anchor in life? What do you feel how's that balance been struck for you?
I think the structure's always been there with either the karate or particularly basketball, which was one of my big favourites as well, and I played a lot of that. I was playing 4 games a week. Wow. It was a physical outlet. It got the endorphins working. It cleared your mind. If you had things like you were particularly busy where it was a blowout, and it was a hard session, and you couldn't think about anything else apart from breathing hard and playing hard.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. And it's like martial arts, and that's why I liken the karate environment to the fitness element, to this win and lose situation, and about the police service as well. If you've got that structure there whereby you put and pressure test, and even my kids are pressure tested, not in a nasty way, to their capability, but pressure tested on certain aspects of the karate depending on their age. It is sort of scaled so that go on.
What does that look like? What's pressure testing when you say that?
Well, it depends what age we're. So they'll so for example, if you go to extreme senior grading, they'll do all the basics, all the combination techniques, then display the self-defense out of the kata, which they've got to present in front of us.
Okay. Then
they'll do all the partner work where they're attacked by partners and have to block and defend against pre-arranged attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to show their own defense to certain attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put them on the pads for 45 minutes, and they're basically on their hands and knees at the end of it.
Wow. But like you say, the mental conditioning as well, not
3.5 hours later.
Physically. 3.5 hours, Christ.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. You'll go people, I've had this conversation, how long will it take me to get a black belt? And I said, as soon as you're good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, how long is a piece of string? Because like you said, you've got younger members of your team and stuff like that. But I think there's a big thing to be said. Have you ever read the book around the sort of 10,000 hour rule? And there's a gentleman called...
Yes. I've not read it, but I know of it. Yeah,
there's a book called Bounce, Matthew Syed, I think the gentleman's name is. And he speaks a lot about the 10,000 hour rule. And also Josh Waitskin is a guy who wrote a book called The Art of Learning. he did a lot of work with martial arts as well as becoming a chess grandmaster, because he said there was a lot of carryover between the strategy involved in chess as there is in a lot of martial arts as well. How do you think about that strategic approach to what you're doing in martial arts, and is there any carryover into your life and the work you did in the police?
I think certainly from having to prepare for belts and learn the martial arts and learn discipline and learn the pressure testing, having to continually drill and repeat the same thing week in out, week after week.
Yeah.
And concentrate and apply yourself to certain things has certainly helped me with certain aspects of my police work. Certainly applying myself concentration-wise to tasks, to the extent that any time I did a course or an exam, and that I usually came either top or somewhere near the top. And I don't want to sound big-headed, because I would learn it verbatim. Yeah. I would drill it and learn it because I knew I had to study that way. And it wasn't because I was clever, it's just because I would read it and repeat it and learn it and almost
I'm
learn
absolutely the same. I'll say it does sound ego, because I say to people, look, I personally, my personal opinion, feel like the pass mark for a lot of things in life now is like 60%. Honestly, it really is about, if not lower. You know, a lot of things have been diluted and downgraded from fitness to degrees and stuff like that to suit and facilitate the masses. And this is what I said to you, we haven't got to be the smartest, the fittest, the anything. If you can just be the hardest worker in the room or the most consistent, there's not a lot it can't get you through, to be honest. There will be those very few things in life that only the esoteric amongst us will be able to achieve. But there's very few and far between. Most things, if you can just consistently apply yourself now, it's 80% of success is just showing up consistently.
I'm sure that and I'm sure other people listening in will have experienced it. Where I finished the police service as a DC. I was no higher rank than a detective constable. I did my exams, but I didn't get promoted because I was running a karate club, and there's a balance between me running the karate and my service. So although I worked really hard, in the background was always, I'd need to get to the class and teach people and do and maintain it. But I'm sure there's people that listen here, you'll have got to a particular rank, but there'll be certain bosses who'll still ask your advice and your opinion because of your experience and your knowledge, regardless of what rank you are.
Most definitely.
I've certainly found that in some roles that I did through the police service, particularly my CID roles, that people would ask you for your advice that would be like 2 or 3 ranks ahead of you because they didn't have the experience and respected your knowledge and your experience. So I think that tenacity that I've learned through sport, fitness, and the martial arts certainly has always sent me physically and mentally alert and up to it, sort of any task put in front of me, and I've never sort of shirked away from anything. And believe me, I've had some formidable things placed in front of me doing what I do, as I'm sure you have. Yeah,
most definitely. So taking our mind back to when you were, coming out of school, and because 30 years, I imagine this has been the majority of your adult life has been spent as part of the police, protecting the community. What was your desire? What was your drive to actually first join the police?
It's very simple. You see, I was brought up in a police background. You see, my dad was a police officer.
Oh, was he really?
So I was in that environment, and I had 2 considerations. One, I was going to be a PE teacher or a police officer.
Your aspirations
didn't quite well what we're talking.
Aspirations didn't quite go as far as the fire service, then, no?
I didn't do well enough at school to get the required results, unfortunately, in those days. And because when I was at school, 18, they'd say there was like 50 in the 6th form. There'd only be about 5 or 6 went to university.
Really?
Not everybody. 10 maybe. Not everybody. Everybody went to uni. No, not in those days. No.
So you'd been raised in that police environment, seeing your dad go out.
Yeah,
what did he do as part of a job then? Obviously, he was in the police, but what did he do?
He was mainly scenes of crime officer when it was a police officer's role, uniform, and then scenes of crime for a lot of years. And he completed his 30 years and retired. I can't remember what age my dad was when he retired, but yeah, he finished, and he was sort of being in that environment and not being pushed by my dad or anything to go to the police service. I just sort of decided off my own back that I wanted to do it. And had an interview for Cumbria Police and was promptly accepted. And I was probably the youngest going on apart from the cadets. I was 18 years and 7 months when I joined up.
18?
So 1 month past 18 now. So
wow.
I was actually interviewed before I was 18 now.
That must have been a very different time as a police officer, because policing's gone through a tremendous change in the roles and responsibilities. What were the join-in requirements when you first came in then?
You had to be tall enough.
Yeah, that was back when you had to. That was genuinely a thing, wasn't it?
I think it's 5'9" or 5'10" for Cumbria, which I made because I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
So I didn't have that was one thing I had down to bang. So that was a start. Then you had to have O-level in English and maths, and 2 other O-levels. I think it's 4 O-levels. I think that's all. And then passed the interview process.
Did you not have to do a physical test?
Which was a panel. No, not at all. Then there was no physical test at all. There was a medical.
Okay.
They had a physical medical examined by doctors and things like that, and they had to look at your medical records and all that. But there was no actual physical test at that time. But believe me, there was plenty of physical exercise during the training process. A hell of a lot.
Yeah, it seems strange that they didn't having a minimal pass requirement. But like you say, I'm sure they were expecting that anybody that couldn't quite hack it would drop out during sort of training school. So what was training school like?
It was good. Like I say, I was one of the youngest there. So I was in my class where I had 2 ex-paratroopers that were lance corporals in the army. They were like in the 27 or something like that, and they'd come out.
Wow.
I had Royal Marines around us. I had guys in the 30s around me. And I think the next oldest to me was about 23 that time. So I was like the baby of the class. So
the bar was pretty high.
Yeah, it was, and they were good with it. The guys were great because it was recognised I was the youngest, and the military lads were brilliant. But I fitted right in. On the physical side, I was as fit as anybody there because I was well conditioned. You see, I'd done athletics. I've been playing basketball at a good level for about 4 years at that point, from 14 through to 18, and continued into my blooming 40s with my basketball.
Really?
Well, yeah. But just off and on later on, I couldn't maintain it all the time. I didn't continue playing in the league. I didn't have time.
It's pretty challenging on the shins and the knees as well. I used to play academy basketball when I was at college, and then I started lifting far too many weights, and my knees and my shins, that constant impact.
Well, I was a long jump, triple jumper, athletics and basketball, and then obviously the martial arts, and I've got 2 new hips.
Really? So you've paid for your passion as such.
Yeah, it's not nothing. My knees, my ankles, and everything are all right. It's just I had a problem on one side, and then the other one's compensated. So yeah, but I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't do anything different.
So you were already into
better get a cushioning in my shoes.
Yeah, yeah, I suppose so. You were already into your martial arts before you joined the police service. Was there any kind of combat training or physical restraint training, or did they go through anything like that in the police when they joined now? Because I know now I feel like they do something like that, but I'm pretty sure that's not always been the case.
Now I'm trying to remember this gentleman's name, but here's a story for you. So my 2 class sergeants, one was Sergeant Mother, and the other one I think was called Paul, who was a Lancs cop, and he was on the British Olympic judo team.
Oh, I love judo.
So I had to go that when I was 8, and I did. I've dabbled with it off and on over the years, and I've been fortunate to have 2nd dan black belt judo guys in my class that have been my brown belts doing karate as well. So we've been fortunate.
I think judo is really high impact stuff. Really high impact.
Oh yeah, well we did it with him. I did half an hour's groundwork with him, and I've never been so shattered in my life.
I don't mind doing groundwork. I like doing grappling, but it's when you get flipped and learning how to because the centrifugal, when you get whipped around somebody's body, it's just like you're flying through the air in pajamas.
I'm the wrong build for judo.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like 6'4", 6'5". I'm about 18 stone. I'm just too big for it. It's a lot of stuff to go flying around.
We fall like a breeze block, don't we?
Yeah, it's not very graceful.
End to end, yeah. No, it's not. So not
you had these as part of your instructors?
Yeah, we did Hapkido, was it then, in college, at Bruce as well when we did it. We also did some in Force as well when we came back. But every morning, well, certainly 3 mornings of the week, you did half-hour run even before breakfast.
Nice.
Everybody. Half-hour run before breakfast. Every day you would do some sort of physical exercise. You'd certainly swim 3 times a week because you had to pass, at that time, you had to pass your bronze life-saving, else you did not get in the police service and you were sent home.
Did you? You had to pass the swimming test?
Yeah, fully closed.
I know at a time we did swimming in the fire service as well. You had to pass the swim test then, but I think they've both since gone completely.
No, I had to pass that to get to be successful. If you didn't, then you get a couple of goes at it, and if you failed, then you go down the road.
Fair enough.
In those days, so totally different to today. Probably give you a buoyancy aid, I don't know.
So they were folding in to it some of the martial arts aspects of it as well. Did you continue to do all of your own pursuits?
Yes. I mean, I had a bit of a down phase in that time when I sort of joined the police service and then went to thing, because when I went to Barrow, I didn't know if there was any martial art. It turned out some of the guys on the shift, one was a brown belt at karate and others around the area. So we sort of got our own little club together and practiced ourselves for like the 3.5 years I was at Barrow. And then, eventually I joined Doug James's association when I came to Penrith after a couple of years and went back in there. So it was a few years where I was out. It was certainly stamped me in good steads on the street as a young boy on the streets, because I went out the first day at the police service and I wouldn't have known if my helmet was on back to front, my shoelaces were tied or anything. The first time you walk out into public in your uniform, it's a nerve-wracking experience.
Yeah.
I can remember being told, there's a radio, son. Your tutor constable's not available today. There's a map. Just walk round that beat. If you need help, just shout up.
Really? That's the first shot. That's the first day out.
Yeah. So they just set you off. I don't know if it's a test or what. So I was half an hour. People asking me for directions. Going, I haven't a clue. I'm new myself.
Just keep wandering around.
I'm lost too.
So when you started moving through your years in the police service, how did you find the sort of career development? Because you spent 30 years doing a similar role, but I know you sort of explored different aspects of the police service. And was there any big surprises of what you thought a police officer did versus the day-to-day roles?
I think the police service is very well balanced in the way that it educates and introduces people, and I'm sure it's a lot different to that nowadays as to how people sort of plan their career paths. And I don't think we get people join the police service as a 30-year career as much nowadays, percentage-wise, as we used to. I think it's a shorter term a lot nowadays, because I think there's that much variation or availability of careers out there that people do move on and go elsewhere. Certainly when I joined and I was thinking I'm doing 30 years.
Really? Obviously, like you say, your dad had done that.
Yeah, and everybody else. Yeah. But everybody else around you, when we joined, we're doing 30 years. We're in this job for 30 years.
So when you were coming towards the end of your career, what was the difference that you saw in, because you say like people not joining for as long now? Why do you think the challenges are that people are perhaps less engaged or less aware of that role and sort of wanting it as a career in the police service?
I think the police service over the years has done its best to try and recruit from all backgrounds, all groups of diversity-wise, and tried the best to move along as society's changed. Society's changed, the police service has changed with it. They've kept pace with it. I think it's just people's personal preference. I don't think it's any less of a role. I just don't think people consider it. I think there's that much more out there nowadays, particularly with technology. I mean, when I started, it was a tulip mic and switches on a button.
Really?
There was no computers.
Okay.
There was no computers. We didn't have computers, none at all.
That's
I think
crazy.
it wasn't until I don't think it was until the early 90s that we actually had computers.
Yeah,
and then prior to that, there'd be one. Oh no. So I think there is other more, not more interesting, but interesting opportunities for people, certainly with the field of technology, publicity, PR. There's jobs in existence now which weren't even heard of 30 years ago, isn't there?
Oh yeah, jobs and industries that just seem to crop up all over the place.
Absolutely, there's engineering roles that 30 years ago the subject wasn't even there. So I think the choice, people are spoilt for choice and don't automatically see the police service as an option. I'm not sure if the wage is enticing enough at the moment. The starting wage, I don't think it is.
No.
It was good in those days, and certainly the M package particularly. But the pension rates have changed somewhat as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which make it a lot less interesting to people compared to me, because I was on the old system.
Yeah.
And I've come out, with a very good financial outlook. But I don't think it's anything the police service has done. I think it's the way, the structure behind it has made the police service look so a little bit of a government involvement. And they've done that right across most public services.
Yeah.
And I think they've just, how do you put it, eroded it a little bit at the bottom end there. I think, I used to walk down the street in 1983 and kids would be messing about and they see me coming and they'd leg it. Now, a police officer will walk down the street in 2020 and the kids will wait until the cop gets there so they can take the mickey out of him.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But society has changed. And I'm not saying the social and the massive gap that's changed in behaviour. And when we get back to the martial arts, I know none of my kids that train under me would wait on a street corner to take the mickey out of the police officer.
Yeah.
Because I've still disciplining them. Not in a hard way, but I know they're all good kids. I know they're well behaved, and I know they just wouldn't want to get in bother. And it's that sort of structure that the martial arts has a benefit for, and helping people that have maybe just been on the edge of going the wrong way, which I've done as well. So strong value, and certainly if they're particularly engaged in fitness and things like that, and they're doing sport and they're active sport-wise, then they don't get in as much trouble either, as long as there's enough for them to do. So I think, everything has changed over the years, and I think it's society, to be honest.
It's because, you talk about different opportunities and different careers and stuff like that. Even whilst you were, serving your 30 years, you started to transition over from, having been a participant in martial arts to starting to sort of coach. And I know we're going to come on to, you work with some quite high level athletes. When was the first time you started developing into a coaching role in martial arts?
I started actually teaching as a purple belt, believe it or not, helping the Ring Club instructors, but just to help out with the lower grades and the kids, really.
Yeah.
And to be honest, in the early days, there wasn't any real grade process. So I wasn't grading. I didn't sort of start my belts until like the 80s, and a bit purple brown belt when quite young and helping out. And then when I got into my brown belts, I was on occasion found myself running because the instructors were late from work and couldn't get there. So whoever was the highest grade in the room in those days. Yeah, which was all before DBS checks, insurance, and everything.
Just show up and crack on.
You're in charge. You're the highest grade. You're the highest graded adult in the room, so you're in charge. But having coached at athletics, having been a police officer, having have a background and things, I took to it quite naturally, I think. And it's not, and you'll know yourself, coaching is not for everybody. It's not an easy road, but it is not. No. Through lockdown, and which we'll get onto later and we'll cover later, to keep yourself it's mentally tiring rather than physically tiring.
Yeah,
particularly if you do several hours in a row. But just took to it naturally. I don't know what it was. I can't put my finger on it. There's obviously something there in my makeup that's from the early days of having good coaches, following instruction, having discipline through the police service, and doing the martial arts. It's all bound together, and I can naturally went towards coaching with guidance from others and help along the way, because you don't know. I'm still learning now. Everybody learns.
Absolutely.
And then early days, that was it. So started coaching then, and then transitioned through that over the next 30 plus years.
When did you start getting recognised as having that unique ability to support not just your everyday mental well-being and fitness aspect, but you started to work with some higher level athletes as well? Because I think you've got some international members who you coach and support and mentor as well.
Yeah, at the moment, we have 2 England internationals that have represented at world and European level from the age of 14 years old through into the adulthood now. And they're both 19 now. And they're on the senior team. That's Brandon Carr and Jed Thompson. Brandon's taken bronze at junior Europeans and senior Europeans. Jed has performed extremely well going through and getting, I think, quarterfinals in some. So they've all done particularly well, and they've been on the England squad consistently since they're 14.
Really?
And then I'm responsible for the association and several clubs that come together to form one big association with other friends. We've got I think it's about under the 20 that are actually on the England squad, as you would call it. So that's the pool of fighters that form up the remainder. So you'll have, if you go to World Championships, you'll maybe have 20 get selected.
Yeah.
There's 140 in the pool. I've got 20 in that 140. And they perform. Brandon has performed very well. Jed's currently down at Manchester for 7 months on contract to assist in the Olympic process with Jordan Thomas, who's our Olympic hopeful. So Jed's his sparring partner at the moment.
Wow.
So he's been selected to do that. So he's actually professional at the moment.
Mm.
And then I've got as young as 12-year-olds coming through down as part of the team, developing. And I'm doing a session with them at 7 tonight, sorry.
So how have you found,
in theory?
How have you found coaching? What is the most sort of thing that has needed to change in your approach to being a practitioner versus being a coach? Because there's a certain amount of detachment that needs to exist in order to be able to deliver the best for your students, I suppose.
Well, as a competitor myself, I've been British champion twice.
Wow.
So I've. It sounds better than it is.
I'm sure it is.
Last one was last year at over 50 years of age. Only over 50.
So still competing now at 50s?
No, not anymore. I've had a second hip. So I did it on 1 hip, but I thought I was risking it on 2.
Crikey, I'll bet, yeah.
So I've always been competitive myself, even whilst coaching. So I've had the fighter's mind and competing mind. Even in my 40s, I still fought and that, and I was still competing quite regularly. Certainly through my 30s, my late 30s, and into my early 40s, I was still competing and didn't give up. So I think it's just that competitor's edge there, and could relay that across. But I've got some good coaches underneath me as well that help as well, and they've got a lot of knowledge. So it's a team effort. It's not just me.
What do you enjoy most about physical combat, about the actual one-to-one? Because no matter what the sport is, I have a tremendous amount of respect for anybody that engages in hand-to-hand combat. There's so many unknown variables in it.
Yeah, I think it's basically the club I was part of was its background. They bred a lot of good competition fighters, and it was the mentality of the club, and certainly the mentality I brought along as well was a competition based. So I went naturally from competing at playing basketball, and people don't say it doesn't transcend, but it does, to seeing it just as a competitive aspect. And all right, it's hand to hand and there's contact, but it's a competition, and you either do well at it, or you do badly at it.
Absolutely.
And I found I did well at it. Not all the time. You don't win them all. And I've got a good saying to my lot, and I can just keep some of the sort of even keel. You're only as good as your last fight.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was something that was bred into me. And I think it's that mentality that we say, look, you won today, enjoy it, train harder tomorrow.
Not resting on your laurels.
You know. No. We never do. We build kids up, and we certainly see ones that are faltering, and we'll build them up and guide them and nurture them towards what we need. We've had loads of good results with national and British and English medals and results, and certainly the 2 boys. I think Jed went undefeated as English and British level for 5 years.
Yeah,
won them all. And Brandon probably not far off himself, but I think it just. You'll nurture them through and guide them through. You can see the ones that are struggling that just need that little bit more help. And, nerves. Some kids are nervous. Some kids are sick before they fight.
Really?
They're not being forced. They're not being forced to do it by mum and dad. They just naturally get that nervous and wound up themselves if they're sick.
How much is it you think it's important? Because I found that as well. I always just get nervous for competing in certain things, but that's healthy. Do you know what I mean? That recognizing that feeling, which can easily be recognized as fear or nerves or anxiety, but I always say that it's like your body preparing itself for something that's about to go. Your body's helping you out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you can feel your heart rate rising. You can feel that stir in your stomach. That's your body helping you out. It's getting you ready for something that's important. It's not something to be feared. And I feel like if we vilify that and people try and shy away from it can bleed over into real life, and they can unintentionally avoid a lot of uncomfortable situations. But if you've ever been put in a ring like that, or if you've ever been put in a situation where you need to, stand against something that's, a challenge, then it can really help you out in so many other aspects of your life.
It has me as well. I've certainly been. You recognise that you can control it. Something's happening around, and there's been situations in my policing career where I've had to actually physically use the karate, or I've been in violent situations where it's become of use, and you know what you're going to do.
Yeah,
and you're going to go, and you'll go with the flow. You're going to do what you're going to do, but you'll go with the flow. You can see the body position. You're ready, but not in an aggressive way. You're not ready. You just know you're ready, and if they do something, you can deal with it.
Yeah,
and that confidence there, and that's so much difficult if you're not fit.
Oh God, yeah.
If you're not fit, and in a fight, you'll gas in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You'll gas out in 20 seconds.
When you've been working in a gym or something like that traditionally, there's so many aspects of it that are in your control. Do you know what I mean? You can, if you're just working and I'll be honest, when I want to do a lot of my fitness, you're always in control of it to a certain extent, but hand-to-hand combat is very different when there's an assailant coming towards you and you haven't got time to breathe. You haven't, especially when I've done grappling and stuff before, and that person's just on top of you. It's a whole different kind of conditioning.
It is. I mean, I like it. It's like when adult males come into the class for the first time. I'll spar with them, and I always spar at their level. I drop myself, and sometimes probably drop myself too far and they start hitting me. But I drop myself down to their level and then gradually just feed through. And I've had guys that have come in that have been ultramarathon runners and people like that, and after 30 seconds of sparring, they've had their hands on their knees.
Yeah,
because cortisol and adrenaline has just overtaken. It's pumped the legs aren't working anymore.
How much of the physical aspect have you been able to see your students sustain during this period? Because we're in a very challenging time now. Hopefully, we're coming. Oh, I don't know. We're going through a global pandemic, and what has been a pillar of stability and an anchor for people's mental health has long been their physical engagement in a sport or a discipline like what you do. How have you felt, both from your students' perspective and your own personal feelings? Because you mentioned about challenges you've had with mental health. How has this past 12 months been for you?
I've actually been all right, to be funnily enough. I've I don't really have any issues as such. I suffer a little bit of anxiety now and again. Yeah. I think it's been quite good because I've kept everybody together, and I've kept everybody together by Zoom.
Okay, everybody's
favourite. By outdoor lessons. We're back indoors. I've retired. I probably lost about 20 students, which out of about 300 isn't too big a dent.
Yeah.
And then in the down period, I'm back up. I've got more students when I start a lockdown, which is a bit perverse, really, because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to lose a lot more.
Really?
A lot of parents have started. What I did is I decided to, on Zoom, is also do fitness classes where all the parents joined in.
Yeah.
And I did outdoor fitness classes where parents came and anybody was doing it. So you got everybody joining in and families joining in online. And basically just buzzed it up a bit. And it's hard. I found the Zoom lessons harder than a physics class because I was front loading it. So not only mentally was I delivering all the time, like some sort of pantomime act.
Yeah, you've got to constantly inject that energy into it, haven't you?
That energy, I was actually physically doing it in front of them on the camera for, 45 minutes for the first group, then 45 minutes for the next group, and then 45 minutes for the next group, and then 45. So for 3 hours,
Jesus,
I was bang out. So I went from 16 stone 12 down to 15.5.
Wow.
So it's all positive. No,
Yeah.
Getting back to it, keeping everything sort of together. We're a strong club.
Mm.
My students and me interrelate well because there's that relationship of, for people that don't know the martial arts, sensei and senpai and student.
Mm.
And, look, everybody calls me sensei. It's not an egotistical thing, it just means teacher.
Yep.
I insist. Some will call me in public and they'll get a right dog in and say, my name's Mark.
Yeah.
So, it's about, they're all good. It's a good group. They're all in buzzing together. They've all worked really hard. When we had issues, like we'd have only children that were, like in the first lockdown, they weren't at school and they were at home, and we had the only kids that were on their own at Keswick. And when I could start to do the one-to-ones,
yeah,
outdoors, I'd go to the only kids and do a lesson at the house with them.
Oh, really?
Just one-on-one with them, because they've been by themselves.
Yeah.
They've had no interaction at all.
No.
So I rang all the kids that I knew were single, only children, and said, do you want us to come and do a lesson with them? So I went out and did maybe about 6 or 7, 8 or so. Couldn't
That's
get round
huge.
them all.
Yeah.
But that's how we operate, and the other instructors do as well. And other instructors were doing one-on-one online ones for me.
Oh, really?
So we kept everybody ticking. It wasn't just me. Other instructors were doing online sessions with kids just to keep them all going. So it was more of a group effort.
Yeah.
With me just sort of leading the way and making suggestions. But for my own mental health, I think, 1, being fit. 2, I actually had time on my hands to do fitness work. 3, I wasn't travelling everywhere. I was doing it in my living room.
Yeah.
Which meant I wasn't jumping in a car 2 hours before I started. So me, say I've got a class that's 5 till 8, so I'd leave at 4 o'clock to travel half an hour to get there half an hour before I finish that. I've still got an 8-hour day, 7-hour day on my hand and travelling and that, and I wasn't doing that. So I actually found I had more time to myself. So we've done a bit of planning, actually looking at my own premises for a full-time place, because sort of renting's taught me a bit of a lesson through the phase and trying to get back. Just very difficult getting it back into venues and that. And if it'd been my own place, it'd been a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I fared all right through it. Yeah, at times I'm just a bit stir crazy, but I think everybody's gone through that, and that wouldn't be just from the mental health side. I think that's just a natural effect of the way things are. And I think most of the kids have come through it all right. Few have been a little bit worried about certain things about coming back in and returning with because of COVID and that, but we're doing it in such a way that it's very safe. But I think certainly being fit or applying myself to fitness during that period of time has helped a lot. So
do you ever get anybody that tries to engage with it specifically for an aspect of physical fitness? Because if we sort of helicopter this out and think about where the rest of society is at the minute, I feel like we spoke a little bit about mental health, but the physical health and things like obesity and stuff like that is a huge issue in society now. What advice do you give? Because you said like you've started to include a few family members in some of the aspects that you do.
Yeah, I've got a double prong. You see, I'm a personal trainer as well as a karate instructor.
Okay.
So the personal training side wasn't done for the personal training side. It was to get back up to speed, to make sure I was up to speed and to test myself and gain knowledge and just modern principles. So modernise myself, I did about 6 years ago, recent.
Yeah.
Just to gather, get back up to speed, make sure that I was on things. So I do have a group of athletes performing at high levels. So really, I think karate, any martial art or any sort of fitness thing, but certainly martial arts, it's hard work. So, but it's gradually hard work. Yeah. So if it's for a fitness perspective, you'll come in a class and say we'll do some lines of techniques. You're not going to be able to do the technique straight away as powerful as a black belt who will put a lot of energy, power, and physical effort into it. And you'll be walking compared to the effort level they're putting in. So they'll be expanding more calories than you are. But you're moving, you're doing it. And eventually you will get stronger, you will get faster, you will get fitter, because in amongst all that, I still do in the class. There is a degree of conditioning. There is press ups. There is bodyweight squats. There is lunges. There is kicking, doing repeated kicks into bags or pads or even into the air. It's hard work. It takes a lot of calories.
But I suppose unlike a different aspects of fitness, there's a very, very tangible progression to it as well. Unlike somebody that perhaps attends a normal fitness class, it's hard to associate that with progress, because we are kind of progress machines. That the way our dopamine works, we want to feel like we are making progress in our personal life.
I think there's exactly, and that's why some fitness classes go wrong, because you can go into not decrying something like a spinning class, and it's like a spinning class, and you're going to go in, and that instructor's going to deliver it, because in that room he'll have 20 regulars, and 2 new ones, and the new ones are going to go on and say do it, but the tempo is going to be quite high.
Absolutely.
And they're either going to love it or hate it. And there's no gradual introduction of like, we'll just guide you for now, don't worry about it. And I said, just have to go. If you go wrong, what does it matter?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to go wrong. I said, and don't think about anybody next to you thinking you're going wrong, because they've got enough to think about themselves. Everybody's engrossed in what they're doing, because they've all got their own things that they're working on. So
they've all got their own development.
They're all going for it. They don't care if you turn the wrong way or looking the wrong way or whatever. They're not bothered, because there's no egos in the room.
No.
And that's a good thing about the martial arts. Yes, people come to me for fitness, getting back to your question. People do come to me that are overweight, and people are training at the moment that have mental health problems. They come to me for those reasons. Just women that have split from husbands due to domestic violence and things like that come in the door, and self-esteem and self-confidence things, and building back up. And kids that have had particularly hard time as well. So we get everybody. You get a cross section of everybody through the door, really. Usually, people want to do something about it and take that step.
You spoke about how mentally draining it can be as well. How have you managed to balance that? Because it is it's very hard to draw the line between your private life when you're giving so much to your students, to your clients, to trying to help guide everybody else. How much time do you get to guide yourself?
I think my own sort of progression, or my own downtime, is that my phone. I'll set sleep mode, and my phone goes down at night time. I don't start answering. I don't Facebook at like 7, 8 o'clock at night. 8 o'clock at night, my phone's on silent. Really? And I'll just pick it up in the morning. Yeah, it's on silent. 8 o'clock, switch off. Put it on it's like a nighttime mode on an iPhone. Just put it on that. Downscale it all. I do my own fitness separate to the karate as well. Diet. I do weights. I get in the gym.
Why is that?
I walk 8. I think because my body's used to karate. I can do it in my sleep. I'll do it. I don't find it hard unless it's a session where I say, right, I'm going to train tonight, and I'll give one of the instructors to do it, thinking, oh God. Okay. So I'll go, but I don't get to do that because there's always too much to do in the room. So I think so I liken my involvement sometimes like to a continual warm up rather than a hit or a high volume session for myself, because I'm always stopping and watching or guiding or correcting or just putting people right or advising or just supporting someone, I think. And I think from my own time, I do it away from there. And I certainly in the mornings, I've got a day routine. I'll get up, I'll walk the dog, I'll get back in. I'm following a diet at the moment, just to reduce calories, just to lose a bit of body fat. So I've got set meals. So I cook for myself, and then I'll go to the gym, come back, do some paperwork, do some phone calls, and the structure to my day. My wife's got her own business. She's got her own beauty business, so she's out during the day to do that. We'll sit down at night. So I'm usually away about 35 to 40 Sundays of the year at a competition. So I don't have a lot of spare time, to be fair. It is very time consuming, but it's also very rewarding. I can't see myself not doing it. So mentally, I get tired from delivery. I don't get mentally tired of the karate or fed up with the karate. I never have done. I've never ever thought in all the years I've been doing it, oh, crikey, I could do with a day off. I'm fed up with this.
No.
You know, I've never felt that way about it. I think it's because you're surrounded by quite a lot of positivity as well. I mean, there is negative times when things aren't going right, but our students have had problems and bits and pieces like that. But no, on the whole, I think my own sort of thing is my fitness, again, is how I deal with things. Also knowing when to have a week off and not do any fitness.
Okay.
Or put in extra rest days and think, all right, I should have done 5 gym sessions this week. I've only done 3, but not getting hung up about it.
Yeah.
And just go with the flow, because it's a long game at the end of it all. So it's about the long game.
You see, that's where I'm still trying to learn that. Yeah. I think I'm really bad at that. You know, I don't always practice what I preach in terms of rest. Yeah, I don't get enough rest because you're in the gym and you're in an environment regularly. I find myself just engaging in everything. Yeah,
it's consistency about everything. It's consistency about time management, your day, structure of your day, your food, your physical exercise, your rest and recovery. At a weekend, I have cheat meals and I can eat what I want and just have a few more calories, but I sort of hit my protein targets. And I don't know, that might sound boring to some people, but
no.
This is just me at the moment. Hit my protein targets at the weekend. I'll have a bit of chocolate. I'll have a glass of wine at night.
Yeah,
I don't get hung up about it. It doesn't affect me. And at 56, coming up 57, I'm probably as lean as I was in my 20s.
Really?
Now, after just following a diet, yeah. Dropped it. And someone's advised me on this. I've gone to a coach and I said, look, if I do it myself, I'll either do it wrong for myself or set it wrong myself, or I'll maybe be too hard on myself or not get the structure right. And I said, I'd rather have an objective external view on me.
Yeah.
And you and tell me what to do, because I'm always doing something for someone.
Yeah.
So I'll do something for myself, but can you do something for me by giving me this to do? And I've been with a guy for 3 months. He's done a fantastic job for me. Ben Crawshaw, brilliant. It's one of his black belts, son. He does it for a living, and he's a bodybuilder, but just set my diet and my fitness routine, do this. And he's also just made you accountable for what you're doing.
I think that's the biggest aspect of it, because I find that I've got 2 coaches for both for business and also my own personal development, because I always say to people, look, you don't truly believe in coaching unless you're willing to engage in it yourself. And it's not about just throwing money randomly at people, but having that, and you said it best about martial arts, having that self-awareness that there is no end, there is no, you never make it. Do you know what I mean? There's always a linear progression. There's always different ways to expand your own personal development, but you have to be willing to be that eternal student.
You do, well, yeah, it's like I said, the day you stop learning is the day you leave karate.
Yeah.
If you think you know everything, then you're making a big mistake. If you think you know everything.
Yeah.
I've even last night at Appleby, I was teaching a guy 72. He's done karate before. He's back training. He's a fit bloke for his age. He's back training. He's enjoying it. He's a brown belt with me, and I'm teaching him a kata. And I explain the hand movement in a particular kata a different way to than I've read it or taught it or explained it, or at what point, a different way than I've ever done it in the last 30 plus years of teaching.
Really?
Just a different way. He grasped it like that.
Yeah.
So I can do front kick. I'm teaching front kick to a load of beginners, and I'm doing round kicks to them and explain how the body moves and getting them to do it and doing a routine. And there'll be one kid there struggling, and then you'll be going, you do it for it, you struggle. And then you go, well, do it like this, and he'll get it straight away. And he said, why didn't you say that? So I was getting round to it. Eventually. You just got to find the trigger for some people's learning sometimes as a coach.
Yeah.
What either floats the boat or just bites them or gets them to trigger, because they just don't, they're looking at it, and a lot of adults are the worst. They overthink everything, particularly with karate. I'm teaching adults last night, and I'm saying, like, just turn like this, and I said, step through and turn through your hips, turn your shoulders. And the shift in the weight over, rising up, so they're losing back and dropping down. I said, no, move through your body. You're leaning forward. you're throwing your weight forward before you move. Don't just step and turn through the hips. Don't take the weight off one foot to step round and explaining something like that. And they go, no, so what? Stop practicing. Watch me.
Yeah.
Stop practicing. Watch me. Just watch. Don't do it. And then just have a go for it. Just go for it and go for it. And I'm trying to get it right. I said, no, do it wrong. Just do it. Just do it. Have a go. Just do it. And after a while, I said, no, do it again. Just do it. And stop thinking. Just do it. And they're like going, and you can see them physically pausing, thinking, all right, I've got to step, turn through. I said, just turn. I'll keep you right. Do it. And by the time I did it 6 times, they had it right. Yeah.
But it's that desire to want to be the professional, be there straight away. I want to get it right, straight away. I need to now.
And I think this is a little bit today's environment that everybody is expecting everything straight away.
Yeah.
I can walk in, I can get that. I can walk in, I can buy that. I can walk in, I can do that. I can get this, I can get this, I get this. And there's just some things out there that says, not today, mate. You're going to have to train hard for it.
Yeah. You're
going to have to prepare yourself physically, mentally, and deliver and raise to a standard. And that's a little bit going back to the police service. You're going to have to go through your training. You have to prepare your training. You have to do all these tests and physical tests and the same with degrees. And there's always that structure in everything we do. But I think there's just this thing nowadays where people think, no, but I want that. Why can't I have that?
It's having the ability and the self-awareness to say it's not going to come straight away. And that's okay. And that's part of the process. You know, it's about the journey. Like you say, you never get there.
Accept it. No, accept it. It's going to take time to do. But the result and the reward are significant at the end.
Absolutely.
You know, I say to all my students, I'd say, how long will it take me to get a black belt? I says, you don't get one, you earn one.
Love that.
You don't get one, you earn one.
Yeah.
And you learn one when you've gone through a sequence of tests, and I'm happy that you're a standard that I'm happy with, and then you'll have earned it. And then when you get your black belt, you'll have walked up a little path to the bottom of a ladder, and you're just lifting your foot to put it on that first rung, and that's where you're at.
I love that.
Yeah. And we just develop from there, you know. It's like, it's like getting a black belt, and there's another one. You get a black belt, it's like giving yourself a toolkit, buying yourself a toolkit, but never using it. Or never, you know, if you get a black belt and pack in, it's like getting a toolkit and then just putting it to one side and never using the tools.
Really?
Yeah, you just got to keep going. Keep going. You learn all the way through. I do. My syllabus is self-development as well. So there's elements within mine where I expect them to produce stuff of their own.
In what respect?
As well. So, for example, under the old system, we used to have fixed blocks, you know, fixed attacks, fixed spots. So I've got a fixed attack, but you've got to develop your own defence to it. I could have a multiple phase attack, or like a strangle, or a double hand grab, a single grab with a hook punch coming around, a hook punch coming in, a front kick, anything like that. I'll call it, and they've got to have a defence, 2, sometimes 3 defences for each one.
Wow!
Practiced and built up as they go through their senior grades, as they go upwards.
What aspect do you think that delivers different to others? Then that sort of creativity and taking responsibility for it, I suppose.
It's me giving up the mantle of front loading from a perspective of saying, do this, because what I also teach says it's never black and white, guys. There's areas of grey in this, and you can make mistakes, and you've got to adapt from the mistakes to make sure you don't get hurt. You've got to adapt and go with the flow. So it's me sort of saying, look, your reaction in a certain situation is your reaction. Yeah. Now, I've trained. I know to step that way. I know to step this way. I know I can throw that. And I've done it in practical situations for real, and it's just been instinctive.
All right.
That's because it's been drilled. But what I want them to do is do something that they find natural, rather than me saying, giving them something that doesn't work for them all the time. We still do a lot of stuff that is pre-prescribed, but there's an element of self-development.
Like you said about the toolkit as well. You've got the toolkit, but now you need to adapt it ever so to your own style. How do you instinctively use this tool yourself? You know,
and it's like I say, and we said earlier, I've had judo guys come through the door they've brought some skills in, so they'll do some karate strike, and then they'll go into a throw takedown, into an arm bar on the floor, and it's like, and that brings that into the class as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and jiu-jitsu and people, you know, I've got a guy, he's a doctor, he's an ex-parachute regiment guy, he's got a few jiu-jitsu and grappling and self-defense stuff that he's acquired through the army over the years, and he does little bits and pieces, and then that comes in, and everybody's got their own knowledge, and they start, you know, they particularly like to do certain things where, you know, I like to sweep and take down, but I don't like to throw really, you know, I do, apart from hip throw maybe.
Yeah.
But, you know, certain elements of I like to do, you know, and then the instructor over there will like wrist locks and turns and grabs and stuff like that, and there's that element in the room. And I think if we go down a set line, you miss out on all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You miss out on it. It's like anything. It's, you know, you join the police service, you go into the police service, and you think, I want to do this. When you walk in the door, fancy doing that. Yeah. You know, people will come in the door and go, "Well, you done, police? Yeah, I want to be on CID." Just, do you? Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But martial arts is so expansive that you can like you say, it's taking you in different angles and different adventures into it.
That's I'm one of the regional England coaches at the moment. The country's broken up into regions, so I'm part of the Northern Regional coaching team.
No.
And then, so that's under the English Karate Federation. And then we've got the national training, and we get asked to go down and help at that. So we help at the national squad training as well with the England team.
So for anybody that's never experienced martial arts, what advice would you give them if they were thinking of going to their local club? What would be your elevator pitch to somebody that's never done martial arts?
If you're fortunate enough, well, look at the website, look at the background. I'm sure there's a lot of hype out there. Yeah. There is recognised federations and groups and governing bodies within the country. Make sure that they are part of that. Make sure that they've got all the necessary insurances, etc., and it's all on the website, safeguarding, etc. The usual things, inclusion policies, all modern things like that. You'll go to mine, and they're all laid out like that. Yeah. Then the biggest thing you've got to do is go and watch an instructor instruct.
What's the biggest aspect of that? Just see if that their style and things works for you.
Yeah, just go and see how they come across and how they teach, and look at the class, watch the class. Any instructor, if you went down and says, "Oh, I'm thinking the job is it all right to sit and watch?" Most people say, "Yeah."
Yeah.
The ones that say no, be wary of.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you feel uncomfortable about somebody watching?
What have you got to hide? Yeah. I mean, I'll have a chat with my parents when they come in. I'll say, "Look, I'm not a teacher, as in teacher. I'm a karate instructor."
Yeah.
And I say it how it is. If they're not doing particularly well, they'll get told.
Yeah.
If they're wasting their time, they'll get told. On the other hand, if they're training really well and they're working really hard, or they're trying really hard, even though they're getting it wrong, they'll get told that they're doing an exceptional job. So they're more likely to get told very well done than the opposite. But they've got to work hard for me. And that's what parents want.
Absolutely.
Parents are bringing them to me, needs a bit of discipline, needs this, needs structure. That's most of the comments that I've gotten off parents today. So they're recognising, some parents in the 20s and 30s now, that structure's gone a little bit in certain elements of kids' lives nowadays.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why they come in the room. But getting back to it, go and watch the class, look at the instructor, visit other classes, and if you know someone that's done martial arts before, or what about this class, or if you've got a friend that does it, ask them about it and what do you think. And, because there is some hype out there, there is some poor clubs out there.
Absolutely, it's a bit of the Wild West. What about yourself, Mark? For people that have heard your experiences with the police and this lovely cocktail of self-discipline and lifting and high-level athletes, and also the big mental aspect you bring to it, if people want to reach out to you personally, what's the best way to speak to you?
Facebook page, Mitsuru Karate, Mark Holding Mitsuru Karate. My website, Mark Holding Mitsuru, mitsurukarate.co.uk. Through there, and all links into my phone and everything that they can if they're local to my area. If they're thinking about joining a club and they listen to this podcast in another area, I know instructors all over the country, so I can point them in the right direction.
That's awesome.
From bottom end of the country right up to Scotland. I know the good and recognised clubs are.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that sort of insight into both your career in the police and how you felt martial arts has sort of helped you sustain those physical and mental disciplines through the years.
You're welcome. No, it's been enjoyable. It's been great talking to you, Peter.
Thank you very much, brother. Stay safe out there.
Will do.
There we have it, boys and girls. Another episode in the bag. Hope you took some real good things away from that one. I really enjoyed my chat with Mark, and as I said before I came on the episode, it's really enjoyable to have a conversation with somebody who has done 30, 40 years plus worth of martial arts, because I just think they think on such a different level. For somebody that has pounded and disciplined and carved and sharpened and forged their mind and their body through a discipline like martial arts, I think it's so important to have people like that with such concise personal awareness in our emergency services. It certainly fills me with faith knowing that people like Mark putting their knowledge and experience into the future of our police service and our emergency services as a whole. And once again, I want to take this time to thank you, yes you, the listener, for coming back to the podcast. You are what we do it for. You are what I do it for. My passion for the emergency services and for everybody that is pushing themselves to go through that challenging time and not give up. I want that to come across, and I hope you feel that in every episode. We are reaching far and wider to find people who are incredibly inspiring, bringing their stories to you through the Firefighters Podcast. My hope and desire is that you take even 1 millisecond of inspiration, motivation to push yourself through whatever challenge you may be facing right now. Know that it is all about the journey. Know that it is not trying to make it, trying to be completed, trying to be perfect, about the destination. So forgive yourself, look after yourself, try and inspire yourself, try and inspire others. And we look forward to having you right here, back with us again, next time on the Firefighters Podcast.